Joining me is Karl Frisch. He's a Democratic strategist at Bullfight Strategies. Karl, we've been talking over the last day, week, month about what's going to be the best tactic for Democrats and the Obama campaign to go after Mitt Romney. And the question is not really what is there about Mitt Romney to go after, right? It's almost like there's really too much. I mean, we've talked about his incredible patriotism claims, which then ended up with him supporting the Vietnam War, but actually going to France as a Mormon missionary, his supposed job creation at Bain, which resulted in the destruction of countless jobs. He profited handily, though. And then there's the flip-flopping on absolutely every issue. So is it going to be actually more difficult in a way because, as we know, the country, by and large, does not like nuance. And if you have to go into detail and explain why Romney isn't a good candidate, it may actually be a negative thing. What do you think? What's the best tactic?
Well, I think the way that they're going after Bain right now is pretty good, contrary to what the Bain in the rear end mayor of Newark might say. Mm-hmm. I think talking about Bain in the terms that they have been, that this is about real people, this is about people who have lost their jobs, is a good thing. Because that connects on an emotional level with people. And you don't have to get too complicated about what the financial services industry is. You just have to talk about what Mitt Romney did. And the reason, remember, that we're talking about Bain Capital is not because of some vendetta against that industry, although it does need many reforms. It's because that's what Mitt Romney talks about. Mitt Romney talks about, on any given day, whether it's 100,000 jobs, whether it's tens of thousands of jobs, whether it's thousands of jobs. This is what Mitt Romney is claiming. Of course, it's not true. And in fact, he's been responsible for the firing of many, many people so that he could profit. But that's why we're talking about this.
The one thing on that I wonder, though, is I was just reading, and the polling agency escapes me, but I looked at a poll today that says only 53% of Americans even know what Bain Capital is right now. So while I agree with you that it's a compelling case and that it's one that Romney has made the forefront of his supposed qualifications to be president, so that's really why we're talking about it, it doesn't at least yet seem to be getting through to the average person, only to about 1 in 2.
Sure. Well, I'm surprised that many people know what Bain is. Because frankly, as much as it was talked about in the Republican primary, remember, people don't follow politics the way that you and I do. They don't read the paper every day, that antiquated system of news delivery. They don't go online to check the blogs every day. They don't check out programs like this or the MSNBC, CNN, Fox News. When Fox News has a good day, 3 million people tune in. There are 300 million people in this country, more than half of which vote. So I'm not surprised that few people know about what Bain is, and it's the responsibility of Democrats, progressives, the president's campaign, the Democratic Party, to get out there and educate people. But remember, people are not going to engage in this race until after the conventions. It's just the way it's always been. It's unfortunate that people don't engage earlier on. But let's remember, they've got a lot of things to worry about. They've got to worry about putting, to borrow a phrase from the previous president, putting food on their family, keeping their job or jobs, as the case might be. So it's not, surprising that they're not engaged in this process just yet. But I have a feeling that even when Mitt Romney loses in November, people may not know what Bain is, but they will know that Mitt Romney was not good for jobs. The reason we're talking about Bain, which, by the way, happened before he was governor of Massachusetts, is because we're not talking about him being governor either. And I have a feeling we'll get to that eventually.
We will. My concern, though, is, again, when we think about simple arguments versus nuanced arguments, when someone, and I don't know who it will be, but somebody inevitably will come after him and say, you talked about your job creation successes at Bain. You were governor of Massachusetts, and during that time, Massachusetts was 47th in job creation. Okay.
Well, to be fair, the only reason it was 47 is because the 3 states ahead of it, or behind it rather, were hit by Hurricane Katrina. So
fair enough. But so then he can very simply come back and say, progressive legislature, I couldn't do anything. And then I worry that that's going to resonate with voters.
Well, it might with some people, but I don't think it will with independents. There are plenty of Republican governors representing New England states at that time, Connecticut, Rhode Island, other places, Delaware, and they did just fine in terms of job creation in that period. It was Mitt Romney's failure as a governor But it goes directly to what he thinks the responsibility of government is. He thinks, and he says it on the stump every single day, that he will take his business experience into the White House when he goes there, or if he goes there. Well, he did the same thing in Massachusetts, and look what it got us. Mitt Romney's not concerned about creating jobs. He's concerned about passing wealth on to his rich friends.
Do you think that if Democrats and President Obama take a more kind of shotgun approach where you want to hit all of the different weaknesses of Mitt Romney as opposed to being hyper-focused on one, that it would seem more effective, that the reaction from the average voter would be, look, they're just criticizing the guy for anything they can and negatively affect the perception? What are the risks and rewards to a kind of shotgun strategy?
Well, I think you end up confusing people if you don't take a methodical approach that the president's campaign is doing right now. It also is a lot more difficult for somebody watching at home to engage on an emotional level when the attack is too scattered. I think what the president's campaign is doing precisely right. You've got to slowly seed these issues with people, show them specific examples, show them real people that have been impacted by Mitt Romney's tactics. These are people just like anybody else that did nothing wrong. They showed up for work. They did their work. They raised their families. They were contributing to their communities. And Mitt Romney's company came in, and as the story has been told many, many times, they would pile them up with debt, reap their rewards, push those companies into bankruptcy, and fire all the employees. And that's not something people want. I think the reason, the economy has struggled to get back on track. Under any other circumstances, this race would be going to the party not in power. The reason it is so close, the reason that women and young people and independents and the elderly, according to the latest MSNBC poll, all favor Obama, is because they don't trust Mitt Romney. And as much as the right wing hates it when we talk about George W. Bush, they don't want to return to those policies. And remember, it was Mitt Romney's own economic advisor who said Romney's policies would be George Bush's policies on steroids.
That's a scary thought for sure. Okay, Karl, we've been speaking with Karl Frisch. He is a Democratic strategist at Bullfight Strategies. We'll definitely have you back on as the campaign continues.
Well, and don't forget to check your local bookstores because George W. Bush is coming out with a book this fall. This is not a joke.
Yeah.
How to fix the economy.
I know. I said I hope for $25 you at least get crayons with it.
Well, yeah, I wasn't sure if the reports have indicated whether it was a pop-up book or a coloring book yet. But,
connect the dots, maybe. All right,
yeah.
Karl, talk to you soon.
Thanks, David.